it's that time of the year again, and hopefully, if I do this correctly, I shouldn't have to make this video ever again. Of course, we're going to start on wgmods.net, which is where you can find all the mods and settings that are completely legal to use within the game. I am going to include the links for all of these mods down in the description, so just look there and you'll be taken to this hub with the correct mods. The ones that we're going to be downloading are Aslains mod pack, which is the main thing that we are going to be using today, fog and glare remover, and free camera for hangers and replays. Now, do not worry too much if some of these say that they're out of date for the game version. Most of the time, it will work. I say most. Sometimes it doesn't, but if it doesn't, then just wait for it to update, and then we can use it again. The final thing that I'm going to be linking in the description is this LOADINF program that I will use for Aslains. So if you do not want to follow step by step of me going through all the mods and then checking them and then me telling you what they do, you can just install this and I will show you how to do that in just a second, and it will just load all my mods for you. And this is why I'm saying that if I do this correctly, I shouldn't have to make this video again, because I can just upload my inf file and then you can just download that each time that I change my mods or whatnot, and just come back to this video and I keep that up to date. Now, please keep in mind though that there are a very, very big selection of mods that you can choose from in Aslains, and I will be going through some of them and saying I do sometimes use this, I'm not at the moment. So some of the mods that you may see later on might not be inside this inf file. I do encourage people to watch through the video and actually choose what they want out of the mods that I use, rather than just blindly following along and loading the mods that I currently will be using. Anyway, download all of these and we'll begin. Okay, so once all of these have been downloaded, I'm going to start off by showing you, obviously, if I go into Aslains mod pack here, it will say don't run or whatever. Just click run anyway. It's because as soon as this gets updated each time, and my screen will go black because I need to accept the UAC, because it's new, Windows doesn't have any reference file. So, I mean, I've been using this for years, right? It's not going to be malicious unless Aslains' website is compromised or WD Mods is compromised, because he has to actually upload that and then it gets verified. So anything that you download from there should be completely fine. And just quickly, just to show you that I'm going to wipe literally everything out of this. This is not my drive folder, and if I went to go and use my actual games folder and then click next, it will have the config by Aslains, which is not what we want. So I'm going to click exit out of this, and then if you click the LOADINF program, just ignore the working directory being blacked out. It's because it has my name in it as the username, because thanks Windows for having to sign in through Microsoft. I did actually then remove my Microsoft account and then go for a local account, but it still says my full name because Windows is fantastic. Anyway, that's besides the point. You will see that once it's loaded, it should say auto-loaded and auto-loaded for both the installer and the inf file, because as long as they are in the downloads folder, they should auto-load. So wherever you have stored, as you can see here, I have the installer options, which you can download from the description, and also the mod pack installer. These two, as long as in the same directory as the inf loader, will auto-load. And then all that you need to do is just do this so that it loads it again, and then click run installer. And then you'll be greeted with the installer. You can click the show preview window. I'd recommend you do that. And then once you click next, 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 it will then choose your download area. This is obviously going to be the D drive for me. And then we have Wargaming and then World of Tanks EU. Make sure you click browse and go to where World of Tanks is installed. Okay? Just because it's on the D drive for me does not mean that it's going to be on that drive for you. By default, it is under C, and then games, I believe, and then World of Tanks or something like that. So just make sure you click browse and find where World of Tanks is installed, and make sure that you're not installing it to the CT client server either, because yeah, everything should be stored in like one folder, which is the main reason why people are saying that it doesn't work half the time. You need to make sure you have it directed at the correct game. But once you go into this, you will then see that all of these are my own choices. And as we just scroll down, you'll see started off with the Jimbo icons, everything should be loaded. So you can then just click next and do not delete the game cache. You can on the first time, or if you're having like issues and have other mods loaded, but I wouldn't recommend you do this every time. This is something that I said that you should do, or I haven't had any problems with, but it's not meant to be, okay? Don't always click this. You can for the first time, but for the next few times, I wouldn't bother once you have the mods already loaded. And then you can just click install and it will go through and sort itself out. And then you click finish and you have my mods all loaded in-game. Anyway, if that's all that you wanted, you can skip forward to the in-game settings. And for everyone else, I'm going to go through now all the mods that I use through the mod pack installer and saying about what I sometimes use, sometimes don't use, and whatnot. So open up the installer. The exact same thing is going to happen. Ask you for the UAC. Click OK, and then it will load the installer just like it did when we loaded the installer last time. As always, I recommend you click show preview window because then you get a better idea of what actually is being installed. And once again, as you can see, because we wiped our mods, I've completely uninstalled all the mods that I just installed. C Games and then World of Tanks EU is the default place that World of Tanks gets installed to. So if you haven't touched it and you've just clicked download, it should be there. Should. But for me, obviously, I have moved it. It is on a different drive than Windows. So that is the D drive for me. And as you can see, we have the XVM config by Aslains reset. Now, it will also tell you up here, it says EU client, as you can see in the top right. If you have done this correctly and it's found World of Tanks, if it says no client found, you have not linked it correctly to World of Tanks. It will say NA, SEA, whatever it may be for your server region. So just look at that to make sure that it has found the correct game. Now, for the mods, we can ignore every single bit of XVM because for some reason, I do actually like the features that XVM has, but I don't know why this happens. The shadow and transparency of the tank names in battle, the battle list for the names, is super transparent compared to everything else, no matter what settings I try to do. So that is the main reason why I don't bother with any XVM stuff. Anyway, non-XVM mods branch. The first thing that we're going to choose is Jimbo, which is the contour icons. This is very, very useful because instead of having everything at the very top of the screen with just the icons, and that's completely fine if you want to use it like that, but this is going to be partly also into the settings. You can quickly just have a little look on the enemy team, on your team, just for the colors. It's a lot easier for the eye and just as humans to discern a color rather than a shape. Because, for example, if I know for a fact that I'm looking for yellow as light tanks, it is going to be 10 times easier to discern that than a tiny little diamond, which is very, very close to being a diamond with a line through it, or a square. So that is the reason why I use that. I've used this for years, and it has helped me greatly. Anyway, moving on, we'll just go a little bit further till it gets to P mod, which is the next category. And sometimes I will use the armor penetration indicator. Sometimes. At the moment, I don't bother with it. Completely personal preference. Loads of people have been asking me when I have used it, what am I using? This is what I'm using. I use colorblind colors, not because I'm colorblind, but because if viewers are colorblind, it's a lot easier for them to watch it. But at the moment, I'm not using it, which is why I said, if you are just going to be looking for my mods, that's not going to have it in it. Now, you could use free camera in replays. I'm not going to bother with it because I use something else, which is the same kind of mod, but it also enables it in the garage. So we're not going to be enabling this. We can keep scrolling down past crosshairs. I'll keep this all in real time for you just so you can see rather than kind of jumping. Don't need anything in aim helping. Don't need anything in info or in battle chat. Nothing in damage logs. Nothing in damage panels. Hit logs and non-XVM is where we're going to be starting off. So anything from this now and below is where we're going to be continuing. Sometimes I will use WN8 in the game. It will go wherever you want it to do, because you can just press and hold control and then you can move it around the screen wherever you want it. I'm not going to be using that today, but if people want to use it, it's there. Gun Marks Calculator by Lebwa, and I make sure that it is the transparent style. That's the gun mark mod I use. You could use other mods, such as this one by Tiggy. I found that the Lebwa one is the most accurate, no matter what I do. So I could be on the first game of the day, and it's going to calculate correctly. So Lebwa's the best one for me. Once again, I'm going to be asking that someone makes a colorblind version of this mod, because I would love to actually have this type of damage panel, any one of these. Like if someone could turn all of these into colorblind, especially like this one, the Lebwa V3, either V3 or V2, I would love that because they look better than the standard one. So if anyone is talented enough to find out how to do that and make it into the colorblind mode with the colorblind colors, please, someone. Thank you. But for now, nothing's being selected. And then just a bit further down from that, we are going down to the Player Panel Pro by Champy, which will enable you to have the HP on the side by the team list. Following on from that, you can go for the spotting markers without XVM, which is the one that I use for discerning if someone has been spotted. This is really, really nice because instead of having the little light bulb, if someone's never been spotted in the game, it will go completely clear like this. And then if someone has been spotted but isn't spotted at the moment, it will go to the orange. And then if someone is spotted right now, it will go to green. I just prefer this to the standard one. It looks a bit nicer, a little bit more compact, and it just overall feels better to use. Also, just below that, hidden parameters, it's just nice. Like you get to know your min roll, your max roll, your min pen roll, and your max pen roll just at a quick glance. So you can quickly see what ammo does what. Scrolling down a little bit further, PM auto reset for 279. I have this on because it's just nice. I've already got the 279, but for missions where it is actually important, it will basically reset that mission for you automatically if you don't achieve it in the first parameter. The 279 missions are really annoying to try and do, especially when you forget to reset, which is why I just keep it on. So it will basically go, say, you need to do so-and-so within 20 games. So like say it's a mastery badge, right? Say get 3 mastery badges in 20 games or whatever it is, or 10 games. If you do not get a mastery badge in the first game, it will then reset that mission until you get the mastery badge in the first game. Because that way then you have 9 more games or 19 more games or whatever it is to then get another 2 mastery badges. Alternate vehicle markers, I sometimes use these, not very often now, but the main 2 that I did use was this one, which is the AVM default and AVM by Zavar. I hope I said that right, but whatever. This one is really, really nice if you're on 1440p because it will make the icons a bit bigger. Now that I have 4K, I'm not going to bother with this. I could use this, but at the moment, I'm fine with the default ones. Scrolling down a little bit more into the 6 cents with non-XVM, we're going to have 6 cents for 10 seconds. Now, I would just leave this as default, but for some reason, when you're on 4K, it makes it incredibly small. So we just use a different one. And I have just had an amazing idea for that. So leave that like that, and we'll come back to that. Continuing scrolling down, we don't need to worry about any of these. Graphics performance, don't worry about it. We'll sort that out in game. You could disable the exhaust smoke, the wreckage smoke and stuff like that. I don't bother anymore. You could if you wanted to. It's all there for you to tweak around with if that's what you want. But going down to this, there is even the free hanger, engage and replays here. But sometimes this doesn't get like updated with the mod pack, which is why I download it manually. The exact same thing in just a little bit further up. The fog remover, there's fog and sun glare, but there's no just sun glare, which is what I use. So that is why I download those two separately. But in the garage mods, you go down all the way to where it says unanonymize on battle results, the Little Helper collection, battle hits, replay manager, garbage seller, and if you want to, you can have the blacklist cleaner where you just press Alt and Home and then you can clear up your blacklist. I may do that. Yeah. Maybe. Nah, they can stay blacklisted. Anyway, they are the main ones that you want. I don't use anything else here. Because the Champy Little Helper collection is going to do a lot for us in-game. So keep scrolling down, and I believe the only other thing, actually there's two more things. The crew voice overrider, so as you can see here in the sound mods, you go all the way down to other crew voices, group 2, crew voice overrider, and then we'll select the default male. And if we scroll down past this into customizations, no dirt, and that is the final one. So from this point down, nothing else. You can just click next. You can then make sure that if you want to, you could delete the cache, but I'm not going to bother with that. Next, install. And then you can click finish. Now, for the manual mods install, after we've gone through and installed it through Aslains mod pack, there are 3 mods that we need to install. You might say, what do you mean 3 mods? Because you only told us to download 2. And yes, I forgot about this one, which is probably one of my favorite mods. Even if I don't play the Chieftain very often, it makes it look beautiful. So if you want to download this, then you can do. Obviously, in-game, I'll show you more. But once you've downloaded the other 2, make sure that you unzip them in 7-zip or any file compression software that you use. And then once they are unzipped, make sure you go into the folder, find the what mods folder and the configs folder for the free cam, and then paste them back into the downloads folder, and then go into Hawk's Fog Remover, how to install, sun glare remover only, find the mod, and then go and put that back into the downloads folder. Once you've extracted them all, go and select all the mods that you've just got, including the config file, and then click Ctrl X. Once you've done that, go to your World of Tanks install folder, go into mods, click Ctrl V, and then move these into whatever update folder it is. That way, you're done completely. Now, there is one more thing. You see, 6th Sense, I can change the icon. Wonderful! Now I have a beautiful 6th Sense icon. I'll add it as well if you want it. Anyway, now we can load up World of Tanks. Now, once we are loaded into World of Tanks, you will see that things look a little bit different. Now, they might not look that different for you though. So go down to the bottom right here, and then go to Champy Mod Settings. Once you're here, copy whatever I have on the screen right now. You can pause the video, copy it. Everything here will be the same. I'll scroll down, and this is everything that I have. So copy it down. There's no point me going through everything individually because, I mean, it pretty much says anyway. So if you need information about anything, you can just hover over it and it will say what it does. So instead of me going through everything, read. Once that's done, what you'll need to do is click Service Record and then go back to Garage, and everything should be updated to look like mine. You will see also that we have the Marks of Excellence. I'd like to put it down the bottom right here. You will also see that if you have a Chieftain, it will be added with another little gun mantlet cover, whatever this is. Yes. And that is basically all the mods in-game. The only other thing that you could change is if you go up to the PY mod settings, it will be under default male by default. You could change it to national male, or you could even change it to any one of the content creators, even the RU content creators, if you'd like to. And that will just be your voiceover for every single commander in the game. I don't know. It's a nice little bit of nostalgia when I first started the game. That's just how it was. So I like it. Now for the rest of the settings, if you go up to the top right or press escape and then go to settings, you will then be greeted with every single setting in the game, as you're probably well aware. Once again, I'm just going to scroll through this. You can pause the video, copy down these settings for what I have, and then you can copy them if you would like to. Lovely. I have been through every single setting in this before. I'm not going through it all again. I think in the settings, like the new player's guide to World of Tanks, I went through every single setting in the game. It's there if you want it. Like, if you really want to know about every single setting, you can go and watch that video again. For the graphics settings, I now use the color adjustment deep, completely full. I don't know. I feel like it makes it look a bit nicer. I don't know how much on OBS you'll be able to see of that, but I don't know, it's nice. It makes it look a little bit better. For detail graphics settings, I have it like this. Yeah, mostly ultra. The grass is actually bugged at the moment, so after a few games it just disappears. So you might want to have grass off. If you want to have something very, very competitive, then I would disable all of these. Disable the water quality, disable post-processing, and go for something like this. This, I think, is like the most competitive setup that you could have for vision. And then you can have also like the tweaks, like I said, in the Aslains mod pack to get rid of any distraction. But for now, this is what we have going. Foliage transparency and grass in sniper mode should always be disabled. Like, these two actually hinder your performance in game, like being able to shoot stuff. For sound settings, something like this, it doesn't really matter too much how you have the sound set up. You could remove the vehicles completely. The one thing that I will say is put the low frequency enhancement on, unless you have very, very bassy headphones, because this just makes the gun sound a little bit more meaty. So it's quite nice to have. For controls, I've made a full video on sensitivity and stuff like that. I have basically one scroll wheel up on the sniper sensitivity and about 6 on the arcade, with 800 DPI. This is very, very low sensitivity. I have big enough mouse pad and stuff like that to actually compensate for it. For the rest of the controls, handbrake on space, obviously. The double shot is on middle mouse for me. And I believe the whole switch mode is on my mouse button, which is like the back button on the mouse. So that's to switch into siege mode, change the modes in EBR and stuff like that. Reticle settings are as follows. And sniper, artillery, no one cares. And outlining is like this. For the markers, at the moment, I have both the HP left and total. I do not use the players' names, and the exactly same thing goes for my teammates. For destroyed, everything is completely off because once they are destroyed, there is no point knowing the player's details. For battle notifications, it will just go like this. It is very, very simple. I disable friendly fire because I don't care if someone's shooting me. It doesn't do damage. It's just more annoying and more stuff that's coming up on the screen. For the battle events, I have them as follows. Basically, everything is turned on apart from the stun 2+ vehicles. For the logs, everything is down the bottom for what I do, and everything is up the top for my damage received. And I do not have the damage caused upon your stun because I do not play artillery, unless I really need to. For the map border, yeah, kind of default, to be fair. And then for the battle reports and missions, we have something like this. I don't have the missions on, because I've completed them and I don't really care about the missions anymore. Like, I have the PM auto reset on for the 279, but I don't like actively try to do them. One thing that I'm going to go back to, if we go to general again, just scroll down, it will say show vehicle markers on battle score panel, which is these markers here. Remember how I was saying about the Jimbo contour icons, how I can easily tell what's what? Look how hard it is to differentiate some of these down here. Whereas if it's just a color, it's super easy, which is why I turn these off. I can have a really nice, clean like UI at the top of my screen, which just tells me what I need to know, which is the score and the amount of damage that each team has done and has, rather than, you know, having everything else like on top of it. Anyway, let's go watch a replay and we'll see it all in action. Okay, so we are now in game. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. This is just a game that I was playing with Silent, one of my mods. I think yesterday. Was it yesterday? I don't even know. By the time that you watch it, it wouldn't have been yesterday, so it doesn't really matter. But as you can see, everything is working. We have our, you know, contour icons working pretty easily. everything is really nice and minimalist. We have Tiggy coming up now whenever I get spotted. I might edit that a little bit and make it have like a bit of a glow and stuff. So it'll be probably slightly different from what you see now. But yeah, I quite like that actually. But yeah, you can see here on the right hand side, as people get spotted, they go green. And then once they're unspotted, they'll go orange, as you can see here. And if they've never been spotted, they are then white. So obviously I have colorblind mode on in the graphics settings. Once again, I am not colorblind, but if anyone is that is watching, it's nice to, you know, what's the correct word? Not accompany them, but, you know, give them that. Accommodate, that's the word. Took me a while. You can see how much I was driving. But yeah, it's the Tiggy little icon is going to stay there for 10 seconds because if you don't know, 10 seconds is by default how long you get spotted for. So after that amount of time, if they don't have any crew skills or anything like that on, you will then go unspotted. I'm sure the ELC had a lot of fun, okay? So that is going to be it for my mods and settings video. As we watch a T30 get obliterated by the PTK. I'm sure I think he enjoyed himself. Okay? He's having fun. He definitely enjoyed himself. I mean, almost as much fun as this guy in a second. This guy. You know, he has a lot of hit points remaining. And, I'm sure he'll reload before me, right? Oh. Oh. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. What on earth was that noise? Why don't I just have an auto-reloader noise? But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy it as much as this guy did. And this game is quite funny actually too. People sit in the most obvious places. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed as much as that guy. And I'll see you on the next one. We did win this game, by the way. Stole my Top Gun.